Hey, to the whole world, guys. This is gonna be one of those long heck of a video, right? So let me try not to talk much, but code as fast as I can. Okay, we gotta write a program that prompts the user to enter the length of a square matrix, randomly fills in zeros and ones into the matrix, prints the matrix, and finds the rows, columns, and diagonals with all zeros or ones. So here's a sample run of the program. That is on the next slide. Okay, that's the sample run right there. Okay, as you can see, you guys, this is the only portion of the code that I've taken care of. Okay, first things first, I want to create a Boolean array, two-dimensional array to contain, everybody knows what. Oh gosh, niece was crying, I don't know why. Anyways, okay, so it's gonna be size, yeah, and then size. Guys, I just retrieved the size from my array. That's all I did, and I validated it. Okay, once I'm done creating my size, I wanna create a method. I will call it modify what matrix. It's basically responsible for putting the content inside my matrix. Okay, and then afterwards, of course, I wanna display matrix. Okay, again, I'm gonna have another method called display matrix. I'm gonna pass it matrix. Public static void modify matrix. I'll take matrix as an argument. Same thing applies for public static void display. I'll pass it matrix. That method, I will pass it matrix. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna take care of them later on, not now. In the meantime, what I wanna do, I wanna create an array that will contain indices for the rows that contain zeros only, and I'm gonna have another array which contains the indices for the rows that contains columns only. Columns only with ones. Okay, so I'll go Boolean. Again, this is not the most efficient way of solving this problem, you guys. I'm hoping everyone is clear there. So zeros should go zeros rows. Okay, you know what, for now let me do it like that. Boolean, not a row. It's gonna be called ones rows. Okay, it seems like I'm gonna need another method. Okay, and this method will be responsible for finding the rows or columns having zeros only. Okay, I'll go public static int it's gonna return an array of Boolean values. The name of the method is find 0 rows or columns. As an argument, it's gonna take a matrix and what? And two Boolean variables that will be telling us whether we're dealing with the rows or column. That's the second one. The first one will tell us whether we're dealing with wait a moment, you guys. Wait a moment. Let me leave it like that. Go return now. For now. Okay. Okay, you know what, guys? This method right here, it's gonna have it's gonna have three arguments. The first one is gonna tell us whether we're checking rows or columns, right? Let's just go check rows. The second one will tell us whether or not we're checking zeros. Okay, so go Boolean check zeros. Okay. Matter of fact, up there we need to invoke this method. We're gonna pass it matrix, and we're gonna say yes, indeed we wanna check rows, and then we wanna check for what? For zeros. Yes. However, at the bottom, right underneath that, I'll simply go. This time around, we're checking what? We're checking rows, yes. So the first parameter will be true. However, the second one will be false because we're no longer checking zeros, we're checking ones. Okay. You know, you guys, sometimes it can be really hard to explain what's going on, or rather explain your logic to another person. That's why I prefer less talking and more coding sometimes. This variable here, it's self-explanatory, contains on rows. So this tells us whether we do have rows that have zeros only or ones only. Okay. Now I'll go int I is rows. Bear in mind, we assume that we already have the zeros rows variable already contains all the rows that have zeros only. So we're gonna go dot length I plus plus. So if zeros, you see, I made a stupid mistake here when explaining this. You see here, the zeros rows. You see, we're gonna have how many rows? we're gonna have each entry on this array here will tell us whether or not the corresponding row has zeros only. Okay. Dumbass. My bad, everyone. I explained this incorrectly. You see, for instance, this variable here, the first element will tell us whether or not the first row contains zeros only, and the second element will tell us whether or not the second row contains zeros only, so on and so forth. Likewise for the bottom variable here, the ones rows, the zero element will tell us whether or not the first row contains ones only, and the second element will tell us whether or not the second row contains ones only, so on and so forth. Okay, I know before I mentioned indices. No, we're not using them. So I'll go if zeros rows at I gives us true, meaning the ith row contain zeros only. What we're gonna say, we're gonna simply display system.out.print all zeros on row I. Okay, now if contains on rows, meaning there are no zeros, no ones on the given row, then we will say contains on rows equals to true. Basically we're saying here, yes indeed we have found a row that contains either zeros only or ones only. Okay, yeah, you guys, that should be pretty much it. Oh, the same concept will be applied here. You know what, for the sake of minimizing time, I'll copy and paste. Instead of zeros there, I'll go ones. I'll put a 1 over there. Yeah, that's gonna be it, you guys. Once the method finishes, we're checking if we have found any rows or columns that contains only ones or zeros. Okay, now I'm checking if contains on rows. We're checking if there exists a row that contains ones only or zeros only. That's what I wanted to say. Damn. If that is the case, if that is not the case, we'll simply display system.out. Gosh, really? I'll simply go no same numbers. No same numbers on rows. So it could be zeros or ones, okay? Matter of fact, I don't need that. Now we will do the same thing for columns. The idea is the same. So let me create those 4 variables there. Let me copy those 3 variables out. You see right there, I'll paste them. However, instead of going 0 rows, I'll go 0 columns. Again, this array will contain elements that tells us whether or not a corresponding column contains zeros only. Meaning, the first column will tell us whether or not the first entry for this zeros column array will tell us whether or not the first column contains zeros only. Now, as for ones column, the ith element, let me put it that way, the ith element on the ones column array will tell us whether or not the ith column contains ones only. Okay. Remember, just like before, remember the first Boolean entry for this method here tells us whether or not we're checking for rows. In this case, we'll go to false. Why? We're checking for columns. And the last entry tells us whether or not we're checking for zeros. Yes, we do. We are checking for zeros. Okay. Now, as for this variable here, we want to pass false because why? We're checking for columns and ones, not rows and zeros. Okay. Now, column. This tells us whether or not we do have a column that contains either zeros only or ones only. Okay, guys, I'll be copying and pasting because the logic behind it is the same. The logic behind is the same. So let me scroll up. Again, this is not the most efficient way of doing things. So let me copy that array there. Matter of fact, I gotta copy everything up to that point. Okay, now I'll have to modify a few things. The first one being rows columns, right? Now zeros, let me check, do I have that columns? Yes, gotta put an S over there and another S over there. Okay, so I'll do that. Ideally, I want to replace columns with rows, the word columns with the word rows, and I want to go column. Now, okay, now I want to go columns. Why the fuck are you making noise, you dumbass? Okay. Now right here, I wanna go columns. Shh, dumbass. Guys, I'm so sorry for any inconvenience. You see, there are kids here at home, so they can be noisy sometimes. Where was I? Oh, actually, I was about to modify this. Oh damn, really? I'm supposed to put an S up there. I think this is the fastest way of tackling this problem, copying and pasting. Okay. The idea is the same, you guys, for the match diagonals. Right now, we've only dealt with the rows and columns, guys, right? So what's left for me to do now is to deal with what? With the major diagonal. Okay. What I'll do again, this is the trickiest part, you guys. You know what? Let me just take care of this. The next part, let me just stop right here, you guys. You see, on the next part, I'll be dealing with the major diagonals, right? I feel like this is gonna be overwhelming if I do everything once. Okay, so that's gonna be it for this tutorial, you guys. Cheers, I'm gone. Bear in mind, we're not done yet.